Hello and welcome to Productivity for Solopreneurs, where each Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time, I share insights to getting things done. And today we are talking about being productive looks like taking care of yourself. So it is live number 132. Let me know you're here by saying hi in the comments. I see Margaret said hello, so hello back to you, Margaret. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Evie Burke, and I help women entrepreneurs take their productivity and their profits to a new level. They're ready to end the distraction, streamline their business and life, and increase their time for other things. They want to be fully present in everything they do, whether it's business or personal, and they want to have healthy boundaries. So I help them create impactful solutions that focus on getting their high priority areas completed so they can grow their business with confidence. So, like I said, today's topic is being productive looks like taking care of yourself. So, if somebody asked you right now how you're doing, what would you tell them? And I know if somebody were to ask me how I'm doing, I would tell them I'm good. And I would genuinely mean it. But if I took just a little bit of time to kind of look below the surface and really notice how I'm spending my time and what I'm doing, I'd tell you that I'm spending a lot more time scrolling through Facebook, which is my social media of choice, than maybe I normally do. And I'm spending more time sitting on the couch while cross-stitching and either watching, Netflix or Hulu or whatever, or listening to a podcast. And so one of my coping mechanisms is scrolling through Facebook, and that one is kind of an avoidance coping mechanism. It's a way I procrastinate and avoid dealing with things. And then there's cross-stitching, which is probably more of a healthy coping mechanism, right? It pulls me away from kind of the worry and that endless scrolling and seeing the same things over and over again, and just kind of allows me to focus on other things and be a little more calm. So, what are your coping mechanisms? How do you find yourself reacting or handling the changing situation? I know for me, my day-to-day hasn't changed a lot. I work from home. I'm not going out as much because networking is canceled, but my day-to-day hasn't changed too much. And I know it has changed a lot for other people. I keep getting invites in my inbox to a special webinar that somebody is doing, from all these different places that I'm subscribed to, where, they're one person, in the last week put together a whole teleconference, right? Where she has 10 guests, and over the course of 2 days, there's going to be all of this content. And I was like, I don't have time for that. And then other people are doing, other, webinars or series on things about how to handle the changes in the extra time. And I'm thinking, I don't have extra time. Like, what I know other people do apparently, but my life hasn't changed. But how has your life changed? Do you find your time is being spent differently than normal, or are you more like me where the day-to-day hasn't changed, but maybe you still find yourself doing some things that you normally wouldn't be doing, or feeling like you need to do some things you wouldn't normally be doing because of the things that are happening in the world right now? So, with a little honest reflection and just really looking at it, you might find that there's some maybe subtle things that you're doing differently, or maybe there's some things that you're like, oh yeah, that's totally something I'm doing differently, maybe unintentionally, as a result of how I'm dealing with everything that's going on. So this brings me to a video I watched on Tuesday from John Green. So he's an author, and I'm going to pop the video link here. But John Green wrote Looking for Alaska. What's the there's another big one that he's written that is escaping me right now. But in this video, he references 10 mental health tips shared by an organization called Partners in Health. And I was looking around for a quick description of what Partners in Health is. And on their Twitter, they describe themselves as a social justice and global health organization striving to make healthcare a human right for all people, starting with those who need it most. And, so they're out there in the world trying to make a difference, and they shared these 10 practices, or the article, and I'm going to include the PIH article too. Article. So, hey Kim, I see you joined us. So they shared this article, 10 mental health tips, where they shared 10 practices on how to take care of yourself in this time. And so I'm just going to go through these quick. You can look at the article and you can find them there and print them off, or, head over to my website where I list them there too. Whatever way you want to interact with them, please do so. But the 10 practices are: so 1, social distancing does not mean emotional distancing. Use technology to connect widely. Number 2, clear routines and schedule 7 days a week at home. So don't go overboard. So make sure you have clear routines set up, right? Make sure that you have some practices set up. I know today it made a huge difference that I'm not in just an old t-shirt and some yoga pants. My husband came upstairs and he saw me and he says, "Oh, like you're dressed today," because I'm wearing a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and a sweater that I would go out networking in. And it made a big difference today. And so, do some of those routine things that you would normally do, as opposed to maybe just staying in the yoga pants if you're feeling a little off. It can really help with how you're feeling and how you're interacting. Number 3 is exercise and physical activity. So daily, if possible. It's so important that we're continuing to move our bodies and exercise. Number 4 is learning and intellectual engagement. So that's books, reading, limited internet. So it's all about continuing to grow, right? And take care of yourself that way. Positive family time, so working to counteract or counter any negative things that are happening. Alone time outside if possible, but inside too. Remember, don't isolate. Number 7, focused meditation and relaxation. There are lots of resources right now out there for that. My favorite app, I'm looking for my phone, is Insight Timer. That's the one I use, where you can just set a timer. There's also some free guided ones there. That's a great resource for that. Number 8, remember the things that you really enjoy doing and that you can do in this situation, and find a way to do them. So think about what are the things you really enjoy, and how can you continue to do them, even if it's a little modified in these times. Number 9, limit exposure to TV and internet news. Choose small windows and then find ways to cleanse yourself of it. And number 10, bathe daily if possible to reinforce the feeling of cleanliness. So I'm going to post those in the comments. And again, these are from PIH, the Partners in Health organization, and they're just 10 practices to consider or to do for your mental health. And when John shared these, so I found these through a video with John Green. When John shared these, he also shared this. He shared that doing these things on this list, I'm pointing to my computer screen here, doing things on this list is being productive. Taking care of myself and others is the productivity that matters most right now. And I really want to echo that. I really want to remind you that it's really important to do that, to remind you that being productive is all about taking care of yourself and taking care of others, especially in this time. Even if your day to day isn't hugely impacted by what's going on right now, it's still taking a toll. I know I've noticed it for me, and I'm sure it's affecting other people. So, when one of the things John said is sometimes he'll just sit back and say, okay, which of these 10 things on this list can I do right now? Or do I want to do to take care of myself right now? And I encourage you to do that too, to look at what supports you right now and helps you support other people. It's just so important to remember that right now, that it's still important to take care of yourself. And I saw something when I was doing my scrolling through Facebook, and I couldn't find it again to give proper credit, but the statement was something along the lines of, that feeling you're feeling right now, it's grief. And there have been so many changes to our normal over the past week or so, and it looks like these changes are going to, stay in effect for another couple of weeks, maybe beyond. We're kind of waiting and seeing, right? But because of all of these changes, it means that the goals we set, the things that we were planning on doing, the experiences that we anticipated, all of these things aren't happening, or they look significantly different now. And it's natural to grieve those expectations. It's natural to have some anger or some fear or like I said, grief around this change in our normal, where anytime we expect, this path, and that path is closed off to us and we're left with this other path that we're figuring out, it's natural to grieve what we expected, right? So give yourself time and space to honor that, and don't compare your grief with other grief, right? Because your grief may be less than some other people's. That's the way we think, right? Is like, oh, but other people are going through this, so like my grief isn't that big of a deal. But it's the grief you're experiencing. So give yourself the space to experience that grief, that difference. And, if you have teens or college students at home that would have been graduating this year, recognize that the experiences that they were planning or expected on having as their senior years played out, that they're not having them. And so they're going through a grieving process too, even if they don't realize it. And again, for those of us with businesses that had goals or expectations or things that we expected to happen that aren't happening, there's going to be some grief around that too, as you figure out new ways to interact and maybe some different ways to do business. So notice that, give yourself that time to grieve. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling scared, or if you're feeling just like shutting down and turning everything off, ask yourself, which of those 10 things on Partners in Health's list can you do right now? Which ones will really support you and allow you to take care of yourself and maybe take care of others? And give yourself the space to do that. I know somebody was posting about they have been taking daily baths where they just shut themselves in the bathroom and they just sit in the bath for a half hour and have that quiet time. And that's been a huge mental health help for them. So what are those things for you? Again, go back to the Partners in Health list that I shared, or add your own to the list, right? And if you feel like you really want or need to connect with somebody, reach out to someone and connect with them. And if you want to, reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with you. I'm happy to support you in that way. So again, the links to the Partners in Health article are in the chat here, and the link to John Green's video that shared the Partners in Health link, that's included too. So everyone, take care of yourselves. And again, being productive, productivity right now looks like taking care of yourself and taking care of those around you. So until next week, much love. Bye, everybody.